Okay, well, welcome to the meeting of the ARPA Applications Review Committee. This is the meeting for March 29. We'll begin the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the roll call, we'll just go around the table. Mike Berdinsky here.
Carl Bonamico here.
Jacqueline McNamee here.
Rob Fritz here. Chris Regan here. Jesse Reynolds here.
Amy Walsh here.
Bob Gross here.
Greg Fishbein here.
We'll hold updates and procedural administrative matters for the end of the meeting. Want to begin about recusals. I know there's a few. So if you have and you've notified, some of you have notified me of that, but if you have a recusal, let's just get it on the record and we'll go around. Carl.
The Boys and Girls Club from Greater New Haven.
Coalition for a Better Wallingford.
Coalition.
No recusals.
Chris.
Connecticut STEM Academy.
Jesse.
No.
CT STEM Academy.
STEM Academy.
Yep.
Bob Gross.
Coalition for a Better Wallingford.
Greg.
Negative.
And I don't have any. The first on the list is a Renaissance Club. They are here. And that is to Rob Fritz to open that up.
The Renaissance Club is a club that's providing facility environmental conducive to spiritual and local recovery of addictive behavior. They receive most of their revenue from subletting, renting out their facility. They had some revenue funded the documentation that they provided on the 2019 documentation. A little fuzzy in terms of some of the numbers. I wasn't really to decipher much from that. The statements weren't. They looked official, although I didn't see any authorized stamps of approval for being audited by a particular entity or not. So, but they looked official. The July they did take a hit. 2020 to 2021, they had a net income of a loss of $292 in 2020. In 2021, it was a net loss of about net income of about almost $7,000. So they definitely took a hit as a result of COVID, not being able to be open and collect their rent. What they're trying to do, they're asking for some money, and as a result, obviously they couldn't generate money and funds for investment in their building and their facilities, and they're looking to request about $25,000 to install a new heating and air conditioning system to make it much more conducive to meetings, environments, especially meetings are being held in the building. They did support that request with some quotes from an air conditioning company, Phil Carson, for both the air handling system, the pump system. They have documentation here and it all aligns with their request for $25,000. Close to that, you see the exact amount there. Anyways, it's about $25,000. Yeah, $25,130.90. Well, no, actually, to look at the $25,000. The project cost is $25,130.09. So, look, they had evidence. I thought that they had fulfilled the requirements of the program. They certainly fill an important role in the town. They showed a definite financial hit in COVID. I think that their funding is going to be invested right into their facility to help make it more conducive. So I gave it a passing grade.
Chris.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but 501(c)(3) does not have to provide tax returns if the gross receipts are under 50,000, so they have provided sufficient detail.
Well, under the revised council criteria, if they're a small nonprofit, it's some kind of a financial, but it doesn't have to be a 990, even if they filed one. Doesn't have to be a 990.
All right, so seeing that the documentation is sufficient, they provide a needed a needed function in the community. I don't think the the assistance application is out of scope in the spirit. Documentation for quotes seem to be fine there. It's a pass from it.
Jesse Reynolds?
Yeah, pretty much the same. This falls under assistance, correct, not program? Yes, because it's, yeah. Yeah, no, the only questions I had initially were about the financial documentation, but clarification that we got before. I think they make a clear case that they took a hit. This seems in line with what asked stuff.
Amy Walsh?
Appropriate ask, in looking at the quote provided, included tax, which is my understanding is a nonprofit organization. They wouldn't be needing to pay the tax on the heating and air conditioning units. So I added it up to $23,662 rather than $25,000. They said in their application they own their building, but I believe that they rent, because in their financial information they had a line for rent. So I would hope that this is okay with their landlord, that they're installing AC units on the facility. But yeah, I mean, they provide a good resource for the town. It would have been nice in their application to include the number of people that they serve, or kind of the idea of their impact. It didn't note the size of their reach. But yeah, they provide a service, and seems like it would improve their space.
Yeah, I mean, this is as we get to the nose this, and I pass it. But the questions are, as Amy said, it is a 501(c)(3). There is no tax. I have that on here. There's, I guess they need that disclaimer from the landlord, but that'll be up to the town attorney. That's not up to us, even though they asked for it in here. The only thing I have a question of the town attorney has to be careful of is because they say it in their thing here, but there's spiritual growth. ARPA has a tight guideline on, you can give to churches, you can give to mosques, you can give to organizations, but you can't use it for preaching. They can't use it for proselytizing or anything of that nature. So that's the only thing. So this is, so as long as it's just for AC units, they're fine. And that it's perfect. This is what ARPA wanted, because it's for ventilation, so they can meet when there is this was one of the first type of things that they wanted to do out there. So this is a pass for me.
Very first time.
So, I had trouble with the conflicts and representation. You can't say that you own the building, and then the application say that you rent the building. So I had a lot of problems with that. It's another one where the application itself is incomplete, in that there's no check mark at the end affirming, and it's a handwritten application, so it's not like something wasn't clicked on a box or something on a computer. It didn't carry over. But once again, that affirmation, there is no affirmation. So based upon the conflicting representations, I didn't pass it because I'm trying to take this seriously. Government money, and my initial thought was to send it back to say, it's incomplete. Figure this out. So I didn't pass it. That's all I got.
On the tax issue, the sales tax, good point, but I think the town attorney, when they want their documentation, they're gonna see an invoice or a quote or something, and the taxes isn't gonna be there. So I think that'll wash out that way. And one way, as was explained at the recent council meetings, the town may act as like a credit card. Get a bill and then pay the bill, and there's a tax on there, it'll be wiped out, or there won't be a tax on there. So I think that's how that's gonna be handled. Craig, I just want to clarify, what part was incomplete again?
At the end. So,
I see.
I
Okay,
mean, if you
yeah,
read
I
it,
got it, I got you, okay. So I gave it a good score. I don't want to repeat what everyone else said, I just want to clarify.
I'm going to be brief. I thought it met all the merits in terms of the impact of adverse impact on the economy. It was a fairly complete application, not perfect, but I gave it a passing score.
Jackie?
I gave it a high passing score. They provided much needed service in our community and I gave it a high pass.
Okay, anyone want a second bite? It does not look that way, so let's sign them, date them.
The system,
Yes,
yeah,
the one with the.
yeah. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Jesse Reynolds, 80. Bob Gross, 80. Amy Walsh, 80. Craig Fishbein, 55. Mike Brinsky, 85. Carl Von Miko, 80. Chris Regan, 80. Rob Chris, 85. Jackie, 100.
$80.56.
Is anyone here from In a Heartbeat? Okay. So I should have said before we started, a passing grade, let's call it that, is 75 or above on nonprofits, and that was way above, so that one cleared. So we're gonna do new opportunity.
Do we want to make a motion?
Oh, thank you. So I make a motion that based on the average score that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $25,000 in the matter of the Renaissance Club.
second,
We'll go around. Mike is yes.
Carl is yes.
Yes.
Rob, yes. Chris Regan, yes.
Jesse Reynolds, yes.
Amy Walsh, yes.
Bob Rose, yes.
Craig Fishbein, yes.
So we're gonna jump ahead to new opportunities. And Carl, you're taking a swing at that.
New opportunities, mission, just to speak to it, the mission is to improve the quality of life to economically disadvantaged individuals by providing the necessary resources to increase their standard of living and foster improvement and maximize self empowerment. Very complete application, very concise. The story is not entirely in the tax returns. I think there's the economic adverse impact. Provided a thorough examination of all the things that that speak to in terms of providing benefit to the communities. I gave it a very, very representable passing score.
Jackie?
I agree with Carl.
Rob?
Yeah.
Chris?
Exactly. Like the organization, we should be providing this money to.
Jesse?
I agree.
We have good alignment with, the goals of our.
Yeah, I agree, except that this is one of those ones that have, if we look at the financials, they've done very well. And so, but, because of the program, and I could guess this again up to the town attorney to verify that it's helping Wallingford, because this is a big organization, as you can see from the millions of dollars that they have. The town would make sure that the money spent on Wallingford, because of that, it's helping Wallingford citizens move forward. I give it a pass.
Well, that was my only concern. This organization apparently in the backup has no footprint.
Uh,
So this is funding a startup. And, you know, I have to question, since the amount of money that's going through this business, CEO is getting 350,000. Why, if a need was previously identified, why this wasn't already happening? So I'm hoping also that the representations within the application come to fruition. But I'm just concerned. That's all I got.
I have nothing to add to that. So anybody a second bite? So score him and pass him in. I need a minute to score mine. But,
oh, we got that much. Everybody's.
Right, ready? New opportunities. Roberts 90. Megan 95. Carl Bonamico 90. Jackie McVie 100. Jesse Reynolds 85. Mike Brinsky 79. Greg Fishbein 70. Gross 75. Amy Walsh 95.
$86.56.
so based upon that average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the matter of new opportunities in the amount of the 25,000. I put my application aside.
Yes,
Yeah, in the amount of $25,000.
Second the motion.
Let's just go around the table, Carl.
Yes.
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 Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes. The next one is coalition.
Again.
Did I catch everybody? Yeah, okay.
When they're doing it.
Is Heartbeat here?
No.
No, so we're gonna do it, but we're gonna take it out of order. We're gonna take coalition, because they're here. Right? Yeah. I got that. I'm just waiting for, oh, okay.
We have two.
Yeah,
So, you all set, everybody? Yeah, so. For me, this is a little more complicated. Something appears to have happened with town council at the last meeting, or a coalition it's on the agenda or something, but they're in line to get they're in line to get some cash from the town. And according to the backup, there's salaries from the town, $30,000. And another 6,000 for some other purpose. Craig, do you know what happened? I was on your,
Something like consent.
is it something on consent? Yeah.
I can pull up the agenda.
No, I pulled that right off the agenda in the backup. So there's that in the background, which is there some sort of a duplication? And do we want to address that with the condition of approval or not? I'm gonna put that out there for now. Looking at the numbers from the coalition, I'm first going to go to total revenue, then surplus deficit, and then the amount of cash on hand. The total revenue grew from 2019 from, I'm rounding these numbers, from 60,000 and 2021 was 73,000. They always showed basically what we have. They always showed some sort of a deficit, but there's a much bigger deficit in 2020, which was the height of the pandemic. So you've got that. You've got about a $9,500 deficit in 2020, and then in 2021 they came back to basically break even, which is where they were in 2019. Their cash went down compared to 2019, compared 2019 to 2021, it went down from 18,000 to about 9,000. I'm taking this first as a economic assistance application because they also have a program. So I'm looking at this first as nonprofit assistance proposal. Some items in their use of funds. They want a copier, a computer, tents, and a workstation. That is a strong component of the application. That totals about 7,600. The inventory is another 10,000. The funding request, unless my math is wrong, the funding request is 19,600.
Yes.
Does anyone get that also? Yeah, so the math doesn't quite square, but that's okay. And so that's how I'm looking at it. Certainly the pandemic didn't do them any good, but I'm not sure that $10,000 for the inventory is the best use of the money. You buy inventory and it may sit, on the racks, and maybe there's a better way of addressing that. But those are my thoughts for now. And this again is on the nonprofit assistance form, which I got sort of marked up tentative, subject to what your thoughts are, Carl.
I think in terms of explanation of request, it was very specific, was very thorough. It's a great organization. It's provides a strong core community benefit. I'm very, very receptive to the application. Leaning towards a very moderate to high score.
Jackie? Oh, geez,
And I agree. I did with Carl's comments. I gave it a good score. Yeah.
Chris?
I'm fine with it as long as there is no duplication of otherwise issued council funds.
Jesse?
Yeah, I had an error. I couldn't open the 2020 tax returns, but I would.
I concur. I did try to get it.
Yeah, my document is corrupted, so I don't have that, but. I'm just have a question in general about. This is the first time that I recall that we're actually looking at two separate requests for money. One being hardship, the other being the program.
It has happened.
Yeah, I know. I just mean, are we just only talking about the hardship piece now, and then we're gonna go around with program?
Here's my thinking.
Okay.
If the if the assistance passes, there's no point in discussing the program.
Okay, so this is all or nothing.
Well, if this fails, then we'll
Then we
go to
go to the other
program.
one, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that there was a loss in 21, a loss in 19, and I'm assuming based on what you're saying, there was a loss in 20. The organization is, valuable to the town, what they're looking to invest the money in. Seems fair. I do see some of your point about the inventory. I also agree with Chris about sort of just the duplication of stuff. I think that would be worked out later, maybe, but in general, I'm not, I'm in favor of passing. I had the question about how we would look one versus the other. One thing just to say, though, is that if we're talking only about hardship and that's 19.6, which I believe it's actually 18.6, I think the math was off, is that what you were saying before? It's in the application, the request. My math, oops, shoot, wrong one.
Yeah,
Documentation. Sorry,
so what I did, to address your question, if I understand it right, I added up the copy of the computer that tends to the workstation
yeah,
and the inventory.
right.
And I thought I came up with 17,600.
Right, and the request is 19.6.
Yeah, so
Right,
I-
yeah. So that was, but that, I mean, we could amend to say 17.6. My only question though is if we approve for hardship with 17.6, the second part's 50,000. So the project is 50,000. So if we approve all of it, we're really approving 67.6.
Well, that's a good point. So
So I'm wondering if maybe what we ought to be doing is talking about the bigger one first. The hardship's established. I have no problem with that. You can show me your version of the tax documents. I'll take it.
So you're interpreting this, and maybe you're right, as they're looking for 50,000 plus.
Yeah, because in the letter of
17.
in the letter of
Okay.
clarification, it says 19.6, which is really 17.6 assistance, and then 50,000 for the program.
So we'll keep it in the same procedure. We'll see if this,
Yeah, I'm not against either. I just wanted the clarification, and also if I like I said, I take your word that if you have a copy of the tax returns that shows a bigger loss in 2020, then that just reaffirms the point.
It was break even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. So just to clarify, so we're going to vote first on the hardship component, which according to the math is 17.6, and then we're going to vote on the programming component, which appears to be an additional sum. Because one could fail, one could pass, and that could. Amy, you look puzzled.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that question because, yeah, I was looking at a $50,000 ask here and I think that's pretty significant. And it seems like one doesn't necessarily impact the ability to deliver the programming piece would be improved by the improvements that the assistance piece that they're asking about, but in reading this application, there's a lot of things that were missing that I would have liked to see, like listed partner organizations. I assume you're working with them, but they're not necessarily, there's no monetary contribution from the partner organizations, as far as I understand, because they talk about it that way. It would be nice to know the number of families that the project intends to work with, how many they have typically worked with in the past, what's the impact been, what the impact that they would like to see. Is this a new project? Is this a continuation of something that they've done in the past? What's the history been? If it's new, why do they think this is the intervention that is needed? And there
Are you on the
wasn't,
programming piece right now?
yeah, sorry, maybe.
That's okay. Finish up.
Sorry.
No, finish up.
Yeah, if they did provide services like this in the past, the application didn't talk about how the pandemic affected those services. Yeah, I would have liked to see more documentation.
Because I didn't comment on the programming.
Yeah.
Piece, so I will as we go
Sorry.
around again. And we'll see where this.
I mean, as far as the assistance piece, yeah, it seems like it helped them deliver their program.
Great.
So somebody's gonna have to direct me, once we get to the program where it is, so I'm gonna stay with the assistance, since we can't open up the 2020 tax return, can't concur. My notes showed that the income increased during the pandemic. I'm just concerned about the application of the money. in their annual report to the council, they told us that instead of hiring social workers, they bought billboards, which I'm appalled. And now we're gonna, I mean, we got another application from Soul Friends in that packet dealing with, you know, social workers, and we're hearing about kids and all that stuff, and, you know, I would have been a lot more happy if we, you know, they were gonna hire a part-time social worker or something like that, right? So we have inventory and this other stuff. You know, so I don't know. I just, you know, I scored it. It didn't make it, but I think the application of funds is perhaps disjointed to the mission of the organization. I mean, I don't know, you guys, we pay, the taxpayers pay their rent. So, I think that is reflected in their backup. But I don't know, I have problems with the connection.
So, I'm thinking that if this component passes, well, the motion would be 17.6, because that's what the map says. And then if that passes, my thinking is to come back with another motion that a condition of approval be that there be no duplication with the amount of money that the town is awarding to coalition, and let the law department, the controller work that out. And that would satisfy that qualm that I had. So subject to that, we'll take another second bite of the apple if we need to, and then we'll just score the assistance piece of it, and then we'll come back to the other piece of it. So, that's how I'm ready to score and pass in.
So we're using the assistance proposal first.
Yeah. And if that passes, that locks in 17.6 of it.
Missing one?
We'll have two recused.
We only have
That's what you should have. Yeah, that's what you should have.
Yeah. Right, so Coalition for Better Wallingford. Assistance piece, right. Mike Burdinsky, 76. Craig Fishbein, 55. Amy Walsh, 70. Jesse Reynolds, 80. Carl Monico, 96. Rob Fritz, 85. Chris Regan, 80.
$77.43.
Okay, so the procedure I'm going to do is make a motion to approve that, and that'll be unanimous, and then come back with a condition of approval. So that's what I'm thinking. All right. So I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $17,600 with respect to the Coalition for Better Wallingford's application for assistance, economic assistance. Seconded by Craig. Mike Burdinsky is yes.
Carl Bonamico is yes.
Chris? Oh, Rob,
Rutledge, yes.
I thought I saw your nod. Maybe I did.
Chris Regan, yes.
Jesse Reynolds, yes.
Amy Walsh, yes.
Fine, yes.
And I'm yes. So I move that the condition of approval for all coalitions requests, because it could be part A and part B, be subject to the condition that there's no duplication of grant money between ARPA funds and Town of Wallingford funds.
So,
What do you mean duplication of grant money?
Well, because the town council awarded some money to them last night, and there seems on facially to be a possibility that they're for the same cause, and I can't sort that out based on the documentation, same purpose and use. And I can't sort that out with the
Duplication of
documentation.
purposes.
Yeah, yeah. Craig, you seconded that, I
So
think.
can you express that again? So
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
I understand it because
Yeah,
there's some redundancy in your question and your vote. So
okay.
based on last night's council, what exactly?
It's on the consent agenda. And it looks like it passed, and there was some money being given out for national opioid settlement funds to address opioid type issues in the town of Wallingford, and Youth and Social Services was going to participate in that. And so was Coalition for Better Wallingford. They were going to participate in a distribution of grant of that money, of that settlement money. And the backup at the council meeting wasn't clear enough to see if it duplicated what we're considering tonight, and what we have tonight isn't clear enough to see if that duplicates what the town did last night. If there's no duplication, no problem, the law department and comptroller will sort it out.
It'll be the law department's
Yeah,
job to distinguish that.
yeah, if we make it a condition of approval, their attention will be drawn to that, and they'll sort that out.
I think their attention is more focused on us. You know, we approved last night without condition. So as far as the backup shows, it's out of law department's hands. It's a totally different structure than what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up that point. I mean, we have to deal with this independent of what all these, whatever goes on up in the town council with different money distributions, really should be independent of what we're doing here.
You're a man of deep faith. You're a man of deep faith.
Well, I'm just trying to keep focused and stay on top. So I just want to keep things simple and focused. I think we just need to focus on what is in front of us.
Yeah.
According to the structure that was given to us, and not worry about anything else that goes on.
That's a very good point, but you don't want it to have to passively influence you in terms of scoring. And he's exactly right. It should be completely independent of whatever may have happened or transpired at the town council, right? I mean.
Yeah, the scoring should be
Right?
on its face, but just to assure there's no duplication.
If
We-
by accident, we provided duplicate money for something that they already got approval for, whose responsibility is it to sort that out?
Would that come up though in the vetting process with the accountants?
Not necessarily. And there's common ground. I mean, you don't want duplication.
No.
And I don't want duplication. So there's no harm done by saying, we alert you to this possibility. There's no harm done. We alert you to what's going on. If there is no duplication, they get all the money. If there is duplication, I don't think you want to award a windfall. That's all I don't think there's harm. I think there's substantial common ground and no,
There's nothing wrong with making the notation.
that's all it is. It's a condition of approval and
Carl Bonamico, yes.
Rockford, yes.
Chris Regan, yes.
Jesse Reynolds, yes.
Amy Walsh, yes.
Craig Fishbein, yes.
And I'm Mike Pradinsky is yes. So that's the condition of approval for everything coalition. So now we're on the second part.
Which I still can't find it. So
You can't find out.
It's
the second part.
it's in the same
It's in
application.
the same application.
Part B.
Part of the application.
They have-
Page 2. You go, it's the budget justification. Please include a breakout. There's admin promoting 10,000, assessment tools 10,000, counselor 30,000.
Okay, so we're saying that, I took that to be. That was the totality of their. Their ask, and that this is the portion. Because ordinarily, we have a section that says. This is the program acts. Right, I don't see that.
There's a row missing, I just want to, usually, there is a row that says Part A request and Part B request, and so it didn't print out. Let me just,
Well, there's A, assistance for negative impact, which is right underneath.
yeah, that's there.
And then there's B, which is at the bottom of page 1, which says nonprofit program proposal, but the problem is
It's 19.6,
is repeated. But
so
what-
it's the exact,
That's why.
Yeah, that's a good-
It's glitchy,
That's
but
a good
yeah, it's,
pickup.
because then when there's a request, there's an email that's in the zip file that says they request the additional information and they break it up. They say 19.6 for this 50,000. So the 50,000 is for an early intervention.
Something else.
For daycare, right? Which is a program, not for assistance. And then that money is being used to promote the program, the assessment tools to assess the kids, and then the cost of the counselor that would be overseeing the program.
so let's go back. And I see, this is refreshing my memory, so. I look at the first page, funding request at 19.6 under Part A, funding request under Part B, 19.6. The 19.6 obviously refers to the Part A money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Part A money. So I think unless someone disagrees, we're done.
Which is really 17.6.
17.6, thank you. Yeah, which is really 17.6.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else here to do.
Yeah, I think I'm persuaded.
If you go to there's documentation request that comes from an email where they submitted additional tax information. And in it says, hi Claire, please note due to the size of the returns, I'm able to attach all the returns here. ARPA funds being requested are equipment and materials 19.6, programs 50,000. Copy of our 501(c)(3) determination letter is attached. So that's in the backup.
Where's the backup for the 50 though?
It's in, they lay out the 10, there's 10.
They lay it out. It's
10,000
just, it's a miss, this is a printout of the electronic. And I'm guessing that the nonprofit program proposal is incorrect in the total cost of the project because the project is actually listed under the budget justification for a total of 50,000.
I'm trying to open up, you're saying that it's the document, it says documentation request?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
called
that
ARPA
word.
documentation
Trying to-
request CBWLFD.
Got 3 of them open, trying to open them up.
And then there's the second one that's the same thing, that's a PDF. There's one that's an actual, well, one of them's an Outlook file, and that might be why you're having trouble opening it.
Yeah,
There's a second one that is a PDF, which is a copy.
That's the one I'm trying to open now.
hold on one second. Let's just. So Jesse, what's your conclusion?
My conclusion is they're seeking a total of 69,000, corrected to be 67,600. 17.6 would be for stuff for the offices, including the Life is Good inventory, and the remaining 50,000 is for the is the program geared towards children.
So I open up the PDF, it's a 1-page document. Literally, a 1-page document.
But it just, you're talking about, it says, hi Claire, is that what it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
here's the backup for the 50.
it's on page 2 of the
Application.
application. It's because that on page 1, where it says B nonprofit program proposal, it says
We
19.
have not run into this in any other applications, so I'm just trying to. So I printed out the application, so you're telling me this box that says budget justification. Admin promoting is 10,000, assessment tools is 10,000, counselor is 30,000, is the backup?
That's, and above it is the description of what they're doing.
When I'm looking at the application here, it's pretty simple. They're asking for, I'm doing coalition, right? Coalition for Better Wallingford. My other one, coalition. There's one application. There's only one number for funding requested, $19,600. So I think that's, if they were asking for something other than that, it would have been stated in the application. They didn't.
It is.
They didn't want out the email.
So here's,
From
I didn't,
response shows that there are 2 different areas. Two different dollar requests.
Because you can apply for both. So they applied for assistance for 17.6 and they applied for 50,000 for the program.
But if all we had right now is these two boxes, because that's what I'm hearing. The backup for the second request is these two boxes. I don't know how I could possibly score that higher than a 1. Right? There's no, okay, there's nothing.
So we look to provide assessment tools and counseling for young families through daycares throughout Wallingford community. Such tools are available to help daycare workers and families review the social intelligence and motor skills of their children. Most are interacting so infrequently with their kids that slow progression or lack of development is overlooked.
So
At
how
the
many,
beginning of the state.
how many licensed daycare providers do they have?
So we're getting,
Oh, they list, that's partially, like, I believe they list Creative Beginnings, Zion Lutheran Daycare, Wallingford Daycare, PTOs throughout Wallingford, Wallingford Board of Ed, Wallingford Youth and Social Services, Acting McNamara, and Wallingford Health Department.
Yeah, but
that's something
on
else.
page 2.
That's,
I got that.
yeah.
No, I'm just,
That's-
I'm assuming that's what, I think it was filled out incorrectly, but.
Yeah, I think there's only way, we got to take it as we find it. I think there's only one way to read this, and we'll go around the table to see agree or disagree. I think you disagree. The only one way to read this, and that they're looking for 19.6, the math makes it 17.6. And then the references to other ambitions has to do with sort of the greater scope of what they want to do.
I mean, given where
but
we are, they're probably gonna go to the,
Yeah.
if they're looking for 50, they're probably gonna go to the council and ask for it anyway. So why are we?
Yeah.
But
I just want to make sure we're on the same page as on our voting. Yeah.
there is, Carl, can you show me? Which is why
Yeah,
item one,
Yeah, that's that 1-page doc. Yeah.
right?
So this is a letter that, and you found this in the, on
It's- yeah.
Sterling.
And if you look at their application.
So this is a letter that says, "Hi, Claire. Please note, due to the size of the returns, I am unable to attach all here tax returns for 2020 and 2021 are coming under separate emails. 1, ARPA funds being requested are equipment and materials 19.6, programs 50. Then it goes on to say copy of our determination letter, balance sheet, so on and so forth. So this is clear, they're looking for 69.
Clerical error in the application.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is on the application line item. They asked for 10,000 for administration, 10,000 for assessment tools, and 30,000 for counselor. $50,000 on their application. It's just not total in a separate
all right.
line item.
So let's see. I just want to take a pulse of the room. So we'll go to the program application. If you disagree, speak up, but it seemed to have a consensus on it. Go to the program application for a request of an additional 50,000. Is that how you see it, sir?
That's
Carl?
correct.
Rob?
Yes.
Chris?
Yeah.
Jesse?
Yep.
Amy? Craig, is a no?
Well,
I just, this is the first time we've run into.
I understand.
Tons of.
Well, it looks like where we are, we'll just proceed to the programming part. So the first criteria, the programming part is purpose, program details, goals, outcomes.
Can
Go ahead. I could have cut you off.
The first is actually before that.
I know, but
Proposed project will address negative economic.
yeah, but this is my turn and when you go around.
Okay, well, no, you said the first. but it's
Yeah,
really
that's
not.
the first scoring
Okay.
measure. So I am very unsure that this application fits that. It demonstrates a need of those in Wallingford who are clearly impacted by the pandemic. I'm just uncertain, and my score will reflect that uncertainty. The budget is appropriate for the request and being supported by documentation. Hard to say yes to that, and any additional funding needed has been secured. I'm going to move down. A high percentage of the requested funds are being used for direct costs. I'm not persuaded of that. And I'm not sure the applicant has demonstrated the experience needed to run this kind of an educational program. It's very speculative whether it's going to succeed. It depends upon other people agreeing. I don't see where they've done this educational assessments before. But the general categories are, unsupported by documentation, and I'm not sure it's just a general educational program. It has very little to do with COVID or anything else, but I struggled with this. I scored it, but I'm struggling with this part of it. As for the administrator, well, I'm going to stop there, Carl. I'll go to you. We'll go around and see where we are on it.
In respect to what you're saying and a desire to have supporting documentation, they do great work. This is clearly during the pandemic period. Community benefits is unparalleled here. I know there's a desire for detailed documentation. This is the epitome of nonprofit organization. I understand the desire to have concrete intangibility here, but I'm giving it a moderate passing score.
Jackie's not here. Okay, Rob.
So I tend to agree with what Carl said. I will say that, they're looking to apply the counselor and the programming to a problem caused by COVID. Certainly a lot of the emotional needs of the community members that were caused by the COVID situation. So I don't think that's something that I think that's something that's appropriate, and I tend to give it also a good passing score as well.
Chris.
Would have liked to have seen more documentation and clarity, but I also give it a passing score.
Jesse.
Yeah, I too passed it. I mean, I do understand the ambiguity and how the application was filled out and, yeah, there could be more backup, but I mean, I think it is in line with who was impacted by, health impact, mental health, social interaction, all of those things, especially young children. I don't think knowing what I do know about sort of the mental health field, the ask for costs is really not that, it's actually modest. So yeah, I'm inclined to pass it as well. I hear everybody's confusion or hesitance, but I also will pass it.
Yeah, I kind of went through some of my issues with this application earlier in the first round, but I understand it's a small nonprofit, with not a lot of capacity to create grants and things like that, but demonstrated impact would be really nice to know here, and the reach and how many people they work with and all that. Yeah, I mean, it's $50,000, which isn't see that, so borderline on this.
So I missed the part of ARPA where it approves lifelines, because that's all this is. It's a shift in services to something that, at least through my knowledge of the entity, doesn't do this. It is a startup. It's a representation as to a potential service. But there's absolutely no, when we say we wish there would be more backup, there's no backup. Not at all, compared to other, as I said before, if you just took those two boxes, which are the sole content of what's being represented as this application, other applications are multiple pages, not two boxes. So, I think we do have a duty to make sure that being somewhat consistent, I don't know. So I scored accordingly.
So the goal is to make educational tools available. The drug awareness tool. Ready to score? Any third bites of the apple? There we go. Is in a heart here? Nope. Is square foot theater here? STEM Academy.
Okay, we ready?
Yeah,
Okay, Coalition for Better Wallingford program proposal. Jesse Reynolds, 80. Amy Walsh, 55. Rob Fritz, 80. Tyler Bonamico, 90. Chris Regan, 80. Mike Radinsky, 61. Craig, you. Craig Fishbein, 15.
$65.86.
what was it?
65,
6-5.
65.86.
So based on the average score, I make a motion that we recommend no further favorable action with respect to the programming portion of the application of Coalition for a Better Wallingford.
Good.
So we'll go around the table. Mike, yes.
Carl, yes.
Rob, yes.
Chris, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Amy, yes.
Very good.
It looked like the standard deviation.
So the next
We're
one
all
is,
set.
the next one is going to be STEM Academy, because they're here. And STEM Academy is Amy, no. Why, oh, you're recused, that's it, so I think it's me. Give me a minute.
But musical chairs, you're up to now.
Take your
It
chair.
just means that a lot of the people here are busy people involved in other parts of this community.
Yeah.
That's good.
For those that have a lot to do, more to give.
Oh. So STEM Academy is looking for $28,750. Taking this from their application, they're saying that the grant will specifically offer positive youth enrichment that will be free or low-cost summer camps and after-school enrichment programs. I'm skimming here and skipping a little bit. Programs will range from full-day camps, after-school enrichment programming, and family STEM nights. Skipping. With this funding, we will offer scholarships to students for all of our Wallingford STEM camps in the summer of 23. Camps will be focused in grades 3 through 8 with a special emphasis on the engagement of girls, underrepresented populations, and any students who are in need of financial assistance. Our program aims to bridge the learning gap that is created by the pandemic and support students' social emotional needs. Programs will be held locally at the STEM Academy in Washington Street. We work with the Wallingford Parks and Recreation Department to also offer camps at our local parks using outdoor spaces. Need I go on? It's a very detailed, descriptive application. I scored this as a programming application, so I don't have to get into the finances. If I do that, and I really didn't get into the finances. So going down the 3 scoring categories, I see a very high pass, a very high pass, and a very high pass in all three of those scoring categories. There's certainly more to say, but it's a pretty impressive application. Carl?
Provides a great community benefit. For those who appreciate specificity, it's there, and completeness. I think the score is a very strong score.
Mine as well. It's a very high pass. They do a wonderful things for our community and for the kids in town.
Jesse?
No, like I mean, yes. No, everyone looked at me like, what? No. I always say no first. It's like kind of like an for me. Yeah, no, I scored this high. I think it's a good program. It's aimed in the right direction. It's all good stuff. So really well detailed application.
Not gross?
Good application. My only concern is, he said, I would hope that all the money goes to scholarships. If there's not partial scholarships, I would hope that because the money's coming from the town, that the money goes towards whoever is in need and not need. It should almost not be need based. And sometimes there's kids in the middle there that just don't fit those needs economically, but they could use the program. So I would hope that it would be open to all Wallingford, and based on the way that the ARPA set up here, applications really need to go to Wallingford residents only.
Greg?
So it's I mean, very strong application, but that was my thought, we did with the YMCA, with the Outward Bound project, is we made a contingent upon it being free for Wallingford residents. So I would be open to something like that if the body was, but certainly it's a high pass on its face.
I started it, so we're done unless there's another bite of the apple. Start a minute and score 'em.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go sit at Amy's computer for my video. I'm gonna sit and hand them to myself.
Does everybody?
Do we all go in?
Is the committee on age? Yes, Bill Viola.
I'm also.
Is in a heartbeat here? No?
Juanico, 93, Fritz, 90. McNamee, 100. Bedinsky, 93. Fishbein, 90. Jesse Reynolds, 90. Gross, 90.
$92.29.
So based upon the average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the matter of Connecticut STEM Academy in the amount of $28,750.
Second that motion.
Go around the table. Mike is yes.
Carl is yes.
Jackie, yes.
Rob, yes.
Jesse, yes.
Bob Gross, yes.
Craig Fishbein, yeah.
Okay. We gave you a minute to mark up the envelope.
No, you guys were marked.
Was it marked up?
No. People read my writing.
It's not marked up.
Jesse's a good writer.
What was this?
Oh, Jesse's marking up.
20.
I'm looking for it. I don't have.
All right, I can
My
look at it.
fingers don't.
2872.
Who's on it?
Committee on Aging is Bob Gross.
Oh, okay.
I have to recuse myself. I didn't realize that, what it was.
Okay, so that's Jackie is recusing.
All right, Wallingford Committee on Aging, which is the Wallingford Senior Center. They want to provide a program for older adults in Wallingford, for bereavement group. Worthwhile. I'm just surprised they didn't have a bereavement group before this. So as long as it's not a duplication of a project that they already have. And I would hope, and I assume, as previously as stated, since this is a town organization, I would hope that there's no fees involved for any of the members or anybody who's partaking in bereavement group that it should be for everybody. It's a strong pass for me. It's a town organization. It's a bereavement group is coming from COVID and other things. It's, you know, it's obviously a needed project. So I would give it a strong pass.
Greg,
The same here. In fact, I believe the program is total cost of 45,000. Sort of disappointed they didn't ask for the full amount. I'm certainly happy with the 25.
I have nothing to add. Carl,
Nothing to add.
Nothing else bad as well.
Chris, Jesse,
Yeah, full support.
ready to turn them in, sign them, date them? Okay.
Program?
This program.
Yeah, I should have all have.
Oh, program?
You know,
Yeah, it's not a.
Oh, you're yelling at me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
I don't think so.
Which one should we do?
You know, we should. Rob, assistance also, and it should be a program form.
Let's start the program.
I did the right one.
Yeah, we got them.
Oh, thanks.
Started out.
Still waiting for sound off. Oh, one. You go.
Okay. Wallingford Committee on Aging. Ready to. Rob Fritz, 100. Jesse Reynolds, 90. Amy Walsh, 100. Bob Gross, 90. Carl Bonico, 91. Mike Radinsky, 95. Rick Fishbein, 90. Chris Regan, 100.
$94.50.
So based on the average score, I move that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $25,000 in the matter of Wallingford Committee on Aging, Inc.
Second motion.
It's been seconded. We'll go around the table. Mike, yes.
Carl, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob, yes. Chris, yes.
Yes, Jesse, yes.
Amy, yes.
Craig, yes.
Okay.
Good.
Except the top.
Keep the rhythm going.
It looks like we're gonna be down to, in a heartbeat is not here, right? Okay, I'm gonna give up on that, I think. So, the next one is going to be Church of the Resurrection. Anyone here from Church of the Resurrection? No? Anyone here from Boys and Girls Team? Yes. Okay. They're up next and it's Carl. Boys and Girls Team.
Carl. I didn't think we had some color.
That's what they found.
Carl's recused.
Oh, he recused. Who did I signed it to him and he recused. All right. So I will start that, although I thought Carl was going to. So this is a programming request for the Boys and Girls Club, and what I and it's a request in the amount of, let's get that out. It's a question in the amount of $249,692. Um, there's a lot of programming involved here. And it's a complicated program. And it involves additions to staff primarily. And the idea is after school instruction for kids, opportunities for families. And the goal is to provide an out-of-school time care so parents can go to work and get the education or training they need to assess good jobs and not worry about where their child is or what they're doing. The second goal is to provide a safe, positive environment for kids when school is not in session. The third objective is to provide employment and leadership opportunities for Wallingford teens by having an engaged teen program. And the rest is detail that develops that theme. Pretty well laid out application. There substantial detail, not backup, but detail on their staffing costs for year one and year two. So put it all together, and they easily pass the bar, pass-fail bar for me. Jackie?
I agree. They provide a wonderful service for our town and it is much needed, especially since COVID. I gave it a very high score.
Chris?
I'm good with the application as well.
Jesse?
I appreciated the detail. There's a lot. I also appreciate that the overall cost is not covered here, but there's only a portion of it. So I respect the fact that they're coming to ask for partial funding. I think the program is aimed in the right direction. It addresses, sort of the needs of the community as a result of sort of economic uncertainty and things that are resulted of COVID. So I passed it as well.
Amy?
Yeah, like Jesse said, it's a big ask, but I appreciated the detail in the application and we appreciate the services they provide and if it's needed and recognizing that this is something that's needed in the town and putting an application together. So I passed.
I have to too. I'm just assuming that there's no overlap with something that's already going on. And again, I assume that this is a free function for the town citizens and so forth. And it doesn't overlap with any other programs that they already have funded because they're well in that. They have a good amount of money. So I hope we're just not overlapping. I hope it's new programming to help new or additional people in town. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's a high pass for me. Initially, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater New Haven, so you expressed a concern about, is the money going to be used locally? But my knowledge of the individual who's running the particular Wallingford facility, I have all faith that Wallingford will benefit, so it's a high pass for me.
I started, so we're all done unless someone wants another bite. Sign him. Afternoon. And the next one up is music parents.
Okay. Are you ready? Done?
Yeah.
All right, Chris Regan, 85, this is Boys and Girls Club, Greater New Haven. Rob Fritz, 95. Jackie McNamee, 100. I think this is Mike Berninsky.
That's me. Let me put an MD on.
Craig Fishbein, 90. Jesse Reynolds, 100. Mike Berninsky, 86. Rob Gross, 85. Amy Walsh, 90.
$91.38.
So based upon the average score, I move that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of, who's got it?
249,692.
That's filled in the matter of Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater New Haven. seconded by Craig. Around the table, Mike is yes.
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 Yeah.
Jesse, yes.
Amy, yes.
Bob, yes.
Craig Fishbein, yeah.
Okay. So, Music Parents Association of MT Sheehan. I was looking at their statement of activity for 2022. And I see that the revenue comes from, among other things, competition, program income, food sales, a blanket fundraiser, bottle drive, butter braids fundraiser, butter braids student car, something, the butter braids in, okay. Calendar gift cards, concert concessions, corn maze, donations. More. I mean, there's more. And I say, wow, I mean, this has to be excruciating to piece together all of these small fundraisers. And stressful too, to piece together all of these fundraisers to try to put together and support a band program, which is complicated in and of itself. As somebody who can play the tuba may not necessarily be able to play the drums and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of moving pieces to this, literally, a lot of moving pieces to this. So it's quite a enterprise. Put together a marching band, and when you see a marching band on the football field, that's the end of the story. But the beginning of the story is you've got to somehow recruit these kids, train these kids, and equip these kids. And I put this under the programming proposal. And we discussed this before. Music is good for everybody, and I gave up my clarinet lessons a long time. Music is good for everybody, and it says here neuroscientists have proved that playing a musical instrument strengthens brain functions. Well, that explains me. So there's nothing. I couldn't find anything wrong with this. It's a very strong application. Maybe not all the kids in the band were impacted by COVID, but certainly there's a presumption that the school population was. So I had no trouble with this application. Carl?
I have nothing to add to that. Agreed.
I agree as well.
Jesse?
Yeah, I agree, but I just want to make sure we're all filling out the same form,
Yeah, I would
Program.
agree. Well, what, I mean.
because it starts with assistance.
It's really an assistance of, I mean, that's the way I read it.
Because
It is, and I'll just change form.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the purpose.
You're absolutely right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah, the purpose of the request.
Let me
is
just check
to
the,
Supplement the money that they couldn't raise, and I've shucked butter
I
braids.
don't
It's not
change my
happening.
opinion because I looked at the financials, so
Yeah,
I'm
agreed.
still struggling. to
Yeah.
put it all together.
Form for these.
Just assistance funds down here if you need more.
Yeah, hats off to parents for putting together all those fundraisers. I know what that's like, and actually, this is an I have not had kids involved in the band program, and I didn't realize how much additional assistance. The football team has assistance. Yes.
I just have one thing, and this is for the town, Wallingford. On this application, when the town does it, if they go off the application here, it's the wrong tax ID number. I don't know who filled out the application here. But the other filled out the application, gave the tax ID number for the Wallingford Fire Department. So if they do that, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? So they need to put down the correct tax ID for Mark P. Sheehan music persons. I'm gonna give you what it is. It's 06-147-4226 is the correct number for them if you go online and look for it. Yes, I am. But that's for the one, it's really for 45 South Main Street, Town of Wallingford Fire Services. So they should fix that, so they don't give it to the wrong people, or to, because,
Yeah, don't send it to the fire department.
yeah. That's the only thing, other than that.
Well, I think the fire department's in for a windfall.
I'm so abusive, I'm so abusive, Bob, that he has the time to do those things.
He's the Quincy of,
Well, I do look at every form.
So
Yeah,
You're too
no.
young to remember Quincy.
Is Soul Friends here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially 25.
yes.
Craig is up on that when we're ready.
Oh, what am I on?
Soul Friend,
So wait,
Okay.
this is
when we're going to do the program?
45.
45, yeah.
Yeah.
45.
So much. Program.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah.
That's what I had.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
Oh, okay, you got it.
Like, yeah, line one. Run out. Program. Oh, thanks.
It's just- Yeah. All right, Music Parents Association, Amy Walsh, 95. Bob Burns, 85. Mike Brinsky, 85. Richard Spine, 85. Chris Regan, 100. Carl D'Amico, 93. Rob Fritz, 90. Jackson Zachary, 100. Mr. Reynolds, 90.
$91.44.
Really? You saying?
I'm not complaining, it's a
So I'm looking for the amount, it's 45,000, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that right? Double checking, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so based on the average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the matter of music parents at Mark T. Sheehan High School in the amount of $45,000. Around the table, Mike is yes.
Carl is yes.
Jackie, yes.
Rob, yes.
I said, yeah.
Amy, yes.
Yes.
Greg, yes.
Okay. That's the one. It was an overlap.
Okay, the next up is Soul Friends.
So Soul Friends, it appears to be an economic assistance application.
Did we, oh, Soul Friends here?
Yeah, they're here. Soul Friends is here.
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
Looking at the tax returns though, I saw a dip. But not significant. The tax reporting appeared to change between 2018. Income was relatively low. And then as we go through there to the present, it appears to be going up. So I guess one can assume there was some financial impact. Certainly some of these entities shifted to online therapeutic. I have had familiarization with this company. I know one of the things is their interactivity with pets and children. And that's difficult, I would think, to do during a pandemic. So I would think that would have negatively impacted them. They're looking to expand their staff, which, we discussed before with other aspects in this area. So, I identify a need. I don't know that I can link up, a number on the loss. It's at 24,750 asked with the representation of a $72,000 annual outlay. There's a narrative backup, but I didn't see any documentary backup. So, I pass it, but it's a lower path.
Did you address the program?
I did not. Well, not I did the application, the assistance was
Okay,
just.
so you didn't address part B,
I did not.
so that's part of it too, so think about that and we'll go around.
Yep.
Okay. Because I addressed the program, part B, so I didn't need to get into the tax returns and the financial aspect of it. And after going through the categories, I gave it a passing grade on the programming end, so I didn't do a deep dive on the financial end of things. But the program seems to be not limited to Wallingford. I mean, I don't want to say statewide. I mean, they list the communities that they're in, but certainly, you know, it could be. If there's any, I gave it a passing grade, but if there's any soft spot in the application, it's not necessarily Wallingford centric, although they're in Wallingford and have been. But their services can take them, you know, outside of Wallingford. But I thought the detail on the program purpose was there. There's enough Wallingford connection, so they got a passing score there. And it just it's ready to go. I had no problem with that. And because it's staffing, it's hard to have backup. There's going to have to be a job description, and then they're going to have to satisfy the law department and the comptroller about the cost of the staffing. So we can't really expect a backup on the cost of the staffing. So that's where I am on that. It's a passing score. Good program.
For me, it was a very thorough narrative. Great. They really took a deep dive in that area. Could have appreciated a little bit more specifics with metrics, but great program. I gave it a reasonable passing score.
I also gave it a passing score. There's definitely a huge need for them. I know their waiting list is huge and they do good work in our town.
Chris, Jesse,
Just a question, are we dealing with program or
if
assistance
this
first?
passes, well, let's see. I scored it as a program. Craig hasn't weighed in yet on the program.
Right,
So
but I'm just
I
wondering-
addressed the program, and so
I looked at it as program as well, only because I read,
I can pass it on a program.
yeah, I just want
I
to fill out my
can't,
sheet.
based upon the numbers, I can't do it on the hard.
so let's focus on the program.
Yeah, so that I scored it on the program.
Everybody get the program?
Have a program.
I
We need a program.
Do we have any more program sheets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
So yeah, and my comments was as a program, yeah. Okay.
so just, so I understand, it's a program because they're asking for, training funds to help train up new clinicians, partly because during the pandemic, they experienced that, I think. If I read the narrative correctly. And so
Thanks.
training for therapy and getting clinicians on board and can do very specific statement of work. So yes, I think it's beneficial and very, yeah.
And I'm a light pass, just because I don't think this is 100%. I agree. I think this is gonna be outside of Wallingford, so it's not all Wallingford, it's gonna be healthy, and that's ARPA for Wallingford, it's supposed to be ARPA centered for Wallingford.
But I gotta tell you, every time I get a call with a parent who's got issues and it's a good match, it's difficult, you know, they have a niche, right? You know, this whole, you know, rabbits and that kind of stuff, and that was big success.
Well, I'm not saying it isn't. What I'm saying is the town set it up that it's needed to be 100%.
Yeah. That would be good.
So we good.
This one.
Yeah, they work with.
No, no.
Ironclad rule. Ironclad, you know, it's like a bridle that won't come off.
Oh, here's-
Are you ready? Yep. All right, so Soul Friends, Jesse Reynolds, 85. Chris Regan 82, Robert 90, Jackie 80, Carl 81, Amy Walsh 95, Hank Brinsky 80, Fishbein 75, Rose 75.
$82.5.
So based upon the average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $24,750 in the matter of Soul Friends, Inc.
Second that motion.
Go around the table. Mike is yes.
Carl is a yes.
Jackie, yes.
Rob, yes.
Chris, yes.
Jesse, yes, I didn't hear.
Amy, yes.
Bob, yes.
Very good.
Is someone from Pink Ladies here?
I'm not anxious to go.
Operation Fuel. So there, that leaves in a heartbeat. Square foot here? No? Church of the Resurrection? No? Nothing? Are you waiting for something that we haven't covered?
No, we're on this.
I just want to make sure we do. So you're all set?
Yeah, we're all.
Okay, so we'll go back to the applications that are not. So first on the list is in a heartbeat, and I got Jesse down for that. All right.
Hold on. So I was supposed to do this one back in February. Okay. So. This one. So this one describes hardship. Okay, so let me back up. So In a Heartbeat is a company that provides defibrillators to organizations, trains people on using them and so forth. They describe being affected by COVID-19 because the organization has diverse sources of revenue, similar, not similar, but similar to what Sheehan's, band has to do. They obtain their money from fundraisers, road races and so forth, golf tournaments and everything. And so as you would imagine with shutdowns and such, their ability to raise funds was impacted. They're looking for funds to directly support their mission to save lives from sudden cardiac arrest. They would use these funds to for their AED defibrillator donation program, as well as a cardiac screening program. So it seems like it's a combination. They experience hardship. They need money to refill what they would have used to provide these services, but then at the same time, they describe a program that they want to implement. They provide very good detail about sort of the importance of their program itself. They talk about the importance of people being trained in CPR as well as having defibrillators and so forth. Provides an example of people who have had a sudden cardiac arrest at young ages and the importance of having these things nearby. I'm sure most of you remember the story about the Little League coach who I believe was actually brought back to life at a Little League game because there was an AED there. That's not here, but it was in the news. They're looking for 25,000, 15,000 would go to 15 defibrillators that would be strategically placed. They would then do a screening event for Sheehan High School students at a cost of $5,000. They would do a screening event for Lyman Hall students for a cost of $5,000. So the total would be 25,000. So the confusion, I don't have any confusion about it. I would pass this one on a program basis because it's sort of doing a program. The only question though is if they're looking for assistance to do what they normally did, you use the financial information. If you look at the financial information, it's clear that they experienced a downturn during the pandemic. So for me, it would be a pass. But
Okay, Amy,
Yeah, but it's weird because it's a program and assistance.
take one at a time, however you want to do it.
Yeah,
But just so we know what you're talking about when you.
just by the first question, if you look at nonprofit assistance, the proposed project will address negative economic and health impacts. So negative economic impacts due to COVID, yeah, it helps, it gives them funds to help do some work. But then if you look at the program proposal question, the proposed project will address negative economic and health impacts. But AEDs, if you have a heart attack, well, it's COVID related. I don't know, their programming isn't necessarily COVID, addressing a shortcoming that was uncovered because of COVID. They
I
do
would
good
go-
work.
Yeah, I would go on assistance then. I would almost treat, no, you would say.
Yeah,
I'll wait my turn.
I think I passed them, let me see, I passed them based on the assistance questions. Yeah. I guess I'm interested to hear what Craig has to say.
I'm
You're the only person in the universe, she's saying.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm a pass for him on either program. Just to see you, Jesse, the person who's president of this organization suffered cardiac arrest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so- And that's,
At the high school senior.
yeah,
Yeah.
so for this type of program, so I'm looking at it as, they're gonna buy these units, they're gonna put them around town. It's not just help, it's gonna help anybody potentially in this town of Wallingford. Whether the town is doing or this group's doing, I think it's a wonderful idea, and not an idea, it's this is what they do. And it's just be beneficial to the town of Wallingford, not just so much the organization, but for the whole town.
So looking at the numbers, a nonprofit gets their monies from contributions, grants and gifts. So in my opinion, the only relevant line, or the most relevant line on the tax returns is line 1. And all through the pandemic, they increased. So there is no financial hardship based upon that line. However, shifting to a program application all day, I mean, doesn't it do exactly what happened to this kid? I mean, to screen these kids in our high schools, see if they've got some sort of heart ailment that's been undetected, right? And then to put AEDs in all these places, I mean, what better project on a program basis? So I'm all day on the program, but based upon the numbers, I can't get there on the system.
The program.
Yeah.
So dealing with the assistance part of it, the numbers that I see, the net surplus went from 5,000 in 2019 to 21,000 in 2021. The revenue jumped from 100,000 to 140. So I don't think there is any case to be made that the ability of this nonprofit has been impaired because of the pandemic. I don't see a financial case. They're doing better now than they were before. True, in 2020, things dipped a little bit, but their cash stayed pretty healthy. Their cash balance went from 43 before the pandemic to 56 after the pandemic. So they got cash. They had cash to buy defibrillators. On the programming part of it, the proposed project on the first row of the required proposed project will address the health impacts due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This program would be just as relevant without the pandemic, and it would be after the pandemic. I don't think the pandemic has anything to do with it. This is a health screening sort of a thing, and they're not screening for COVID as far as I can tell. They're screening for heart problems. I don't see a connection with the pandemic. And then you go to the first scoring row. We've got to see a demonstrated need of those in Wallingford who were impacted by the pandemic. I don't see that at all. They're screening for heart issues, whether or not you were impacted by the pandemic. So their program is irrelevant to the pandemic. So I got to think about your well thought out comments as we go around the table. That's how I can connect it up. Carl?
I have to support what Bob said. I agree with it as an incredible community benefit here. They do great work. I think with trying to thread the needle on this, I gave it a very reasonable passing score.
I also gave it a passing score, just working with kids in high schools, middle schools, whatever, who are suffering from long-term COVID with asthma, with breathing related issues. So for me, it's a pass because we're going to screen these kids and also have these devices throughout the town. So we're possibly saving lives.
Rob?
Yeah, obviously, on the wall there, on one of us could keel over, so it's a good thing. But I look at the finance, I just want to make a little comment, because I've seen this come up on a number of applications. I'm always looking at it as finance is sometimes the opportunity cost. So if they lost fundraising capabilities, and if they demonstrated that, even if the cash flow and the revenue is higher or the same, I'm always thinking, geez, where could they have been had they not lost those fundraisers? Sure, even if they're 20% higher than 2019, they might be 80%. There could have been another 100 defibrillators all over town had they not lost that revenue stream. So that's kind of how I look at it. As long as they can demonstrate that they had an impact on their capabilities, which they clearly did. So again, I gave it a pretty high passing score as well.
So I'd like to expand a little bit on Jackie's comments regarding the effects of COVID, et cetera, put it into the context of, I'm sure we all know people who have either suffered from COVID in the beginning, long COVID, any variation, et cetera, who do see a weakening of their hearts, who do see a weakening of lung function, cognitive function in some cases, in terms of long COVID, et cetera. And having these available everywhere, not just one here, but one in the back, perhaps, is a very worthy cause, because look, life expectancy's gone down as a result. If there's anything that we can do to help and to be more reactive to people who may encounter a heart issue as a result of COVID, and yes, as a result of other things as well, then we should do everything in our power to do so. Wrong pass.
Jesse, you started, so any second bites?
Yeah, just to try and massage your comments.
Not now.
Yeah, sure. And not to be a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
But I'm reading a lot about athletes, young men, especially, who got vaccinated and have heart attacks. So,
Add them into the mix.
yeah, I think this directly means that.
So let's do the program applicant. Everyone fill out the programming form. Let's do that and see where we are. I did both too.
Correlation and causation.
What happened to the Scrove House? Can I get a?
There's some, I have one here.
Where they? The assistant file keeps growing.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, you had the right one.
Doing program, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm putting more programs.
Definitely not.
Nope. Oh.
All right, in a heartbeat, ready? Jesse Reynolds 80, Rob Fritz 90.
80, 90.
Jackie 90. Carl, let me go 86. Regan 100. Amy Walsh 90. Linsky 70. Brian 95. Oh, and Rob Gross 85.
87.33.
So based upon the average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the matter of Hartford Inc. in the amount of $25,000.
So,
Mike, yes?
Carl, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris, yes.
Yes.
Amy, yes.
Bob, yes.
Greg, yes.
Yeah.
So the next one is going to be square foot theater. That's Rob.
The split for theater.
Hold on one sec, Rob.
Yeah.
We got to get our envelopes on.
We did the feature. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, sir.
This one.
Okay, sorry, Rob.
Okay, so the square foot theater is a small theater. If anybody's ever been to it, it's owned by back at Town Fair Tire in that plaza over there. Located, so 75 seat theater. They're looking for $25,000. They were impacted by COVID. They had to shut down almost over a year, April 2020, August 2021. And they lost a significant amount of revenue as a result. They cater to all age groups. They produce about a dozen or more shows a year annually, and they also are one of the main producers for certainly the Lyman Hall theater program. They cater mostly toward the younger people, teenagers, high school age children. And I think that's a really good outlook. A lot of the kids involved in theater tend not to necessarily be heavily involved in other activities. So I think it's a very important asset to the community. They're looking for the $25,000. They're going to invest. It's an application. They're going to buy a lot of new equipment to cater towards some of the hearing impaired, visually impaired participants, which I think are that's a segment of our population that struggles and is really, I think, ignored. So I applaud them for really focusing on that population. So I think I think they were certainly demonstrated they were hurt by COVID. I think they serve the community in very important ways. I think what they request is modest, and I think it's been put toward good use, and they've got it backed up with lots of good, reasonably good information in terms of where they're going to spend it and what they're going to spend it on. So I gave it a pretty good pass.
So I'm looking for detail regarding what is called the Shuttered Venue Grant, which is a grant from the SBA. Just to try to understand how much they received in rebate there. I can't find anything in the 20 or 21 tax return. If it was something that would even be on the tax return. SBA's website no longer has that information available. Community theater is great. I know a number of people who participate, who donate their time, donate their limited acting skills and others to it. So I'll pass this one.
Jesse?
Yeah, I echo Rob's assessment. I think I know where the place is. I know that these kinds of venues struggled. The importance of having good equipment is key to being successful. I also appreciate sort of the other accommodations they want to make You know. The modest proposal. And it looks like they're ready to go with it, so I pass it. And this is under assistance, right? This is not a program?
I'm looking at it first, I scored it both ways.
Okay.
So why don't you handle both if you have anything to add?
I was looking this as more as assistance because they needed the money to be able to do this stuff. Program elements, I guess, the wheelchair ramp, things like that, I guess you would consider, but I looked at it more as assistance. I would pass it either.
Yeah, I looked at this as assistance. I appreciate in their application, they talked about that they have an understanding landlord because they're behind in their rent because they're closed and you can have revenue coming in from shows. I also appreciate in their budget justification, you know, they talk about they're gonna, you know, buy the lumber and do the paint and the labor themselves, the volunteers and staff. So they're putting some elbow grease into this also. Good community member, so I passed.
I also passed them. I just wish that not just this application, but they were more thorough. And if they got relief, they let us know what that relief was, because not, they wouldn't have gotten $1 million. But I'm just saying,
I'm gonna take a second because they did find something.
okay, then I'll go right back to you.
Are you
So
done?
I wish
Finish.
they're fast because this is the kind of organization that we definitely hit.
Yeah.
But I just wish we knew the amount that was.
We do get a
They did
second
get
bite. We'll go around and
$300,000.
Chris will weigh in and then
That would affect what I
yes, we'll
saw.
see. what we'll do.
So I see value in the grant. I'm having. The numbers of the tax returns, it's either a typo or I can't tell, because if we look at lines 1 and 2. The 2018 tax return. Contributions in 2018 were 17,000 and program service revenue, which I would expect is tickets, is 113,000. When we look at 19, it's 16,000 for line 1 and 80,000 for line 2. So I could see a dip in the tickets, right there. But then when I get to 2020, it reverses. It totally goes the opposite. So their contributions, gifts,
They're
and
not a
such,
fiscal year. Per year.
but it shouldn't matter because it's apples to apples. So 2018 return, 2019 tax
2018 is 2019 really on these forms.
doesn't,
Yeah.
whatever. No.
Let him.
Because the contribution line for 2018 is 17,000. 2019, it's 16,000. For 2020, it is 103,000. So that's an apples to apples approach. So I don't know why, right? So did they have a significant dip then? And that's where this grant filled that in?
Can I respond?
Sure.
If you look at page 7 of 14 on the 2020 990.
Yeah.
It goes under section A, public support, item 1, gifts, grants, contribution, and membership fees received.
Which page?
7.
So is that the 103? Is that how we get there?
I would presume
Yeah, that is
that,
big stuff.
that the SBA up in the right-hand corner,
Oh,
you see under column E,
For 2020.
that is I mean, unless you have a benefactor that died, that's where the grant, I believe, would come from.
yeah.
In that, so you do still see the proportionate, but.
So it's that, yeah. So that's what brought them up and that's why it flip flopped.
Right.
Okay, so that's a significant income. Okay, I'm much better on the story. Okay, thank you.
So that was Craig. This is a struggle to make heads for me to make heads or tails of the financials. They're gross from any source derived definition of income. Income tax. It's 161,000 in the last year that we had financials for, which is about the same as it was for 2018 to 2019. But going back to the last year that we had financials for, oddly, the rent went up from 68, which is about where it was, 68,000, which is about where it was annually, to 83. They got a grant of 38,360, I saw somewhere here, and their salaries went up from 14,800 to 44,000. So I have trouble on the assistance part of it. And that leaves the programming part of it, and that's a close call. So, Carl?
Strong support from me. I think it's a great organization. Great community benefit. I love what they do, the work they do. I think it's a very strong support from me.
Jackie?
I agree, Carl.
Ron?
Nope, I already gave mine,
So are we doing program?
So let's decide on that.
I prefer program given your.
Let's do programming.
Same here.
Let's do programming.
Hello.
See how that goes.
Craig's left.
And this is
Yeah.
25,000.
We got plenty of forms. Yeah. What do you need?
Oh, you're there. Yeah. Sorry.
Thanks.
That works.
We got them all in? Yeah, they're working on it. Okay, they're working.
All right.
Okay, ready, square foot theater for $25,000, Jackie 90. Carl 93. Mr. Regan 75. Rob Fritz 90. Jesse Reynolds 85. Fine 80. Amy Walsh 95. Mike Berinsky 77. Gross 80.
$85 even.
So based upon the average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $25,000 in the matter of square foot theater company.
Second.
Around the table, Mike, yes?
Yes.
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 Next is going to be Church of the Resurrection. When you get
Did we only look for the church?
That was the Church of the, no.
Yeah.
I remember reading about the doors and everything else.
Well, it was on an agenda, but we rescheduled it.
We never got to it. It was, we did our homework, but we didn't vote.
I see, okay.
This is system.
No, we passed that, so we don't. Oh, you mean the Church of Resurrection?
Yeah, I did.
I did it for assistance, so it must be how they apply.
They did both.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good. So, before, I mean, it's a decent application on its face. We know the churches were closed. They certainly stated the carnival revenues to pay for this project. They represent the pre-pandemic. It's gonna cost about $40,000, but based upon inflation and so on and so forth, it's about $75,000. They're looking for $75,000. My problem though is I don't believe that they've submitted the financial backup that they're required to. So they're a nonprofit, but there's no 990s. There's a P&L or what appears to be P&L from 2022 and 2021, but it's not, you know, in a form that I see any indication that CPA like signed off on. So, you know, I like the application, but I think given our past precedent, we're required to send it back. So submit those bills.
Well, churches aren't supposed to, they don't have to file a 990, so that takes that out.
Okay, so the P and L, we have P and L. What represents to be a P and L? There's no, it's not, doesn't, I just looking for consistency, that's all. I
Yeah.
like the application.
Okay.
So, you know, I scored it as a pass, but, you know, so long as what we have for backup is appropriate. I did it on an assistance basis. I think on a program basis, it passes any day. So I guess we could say we ignore the financials. We don't care what they are. We know they exist. It's a decent program and go do that too. So that's all I got.
So this is an assistance application, and the criteria is the degree to which the nonprofit's ability to provide those services have been impaired as a result of the pandemic. The degree to which a nonprofit's ability to provide those services have been impaired as a result of the pandemic. Now, it's tough optics to say to a church you get a low score. Very hard optics. I get that. I get that. I understand. But I'm gonna be faithful to the criteria, regardless of the optics. So their net income, according to their financial records, starting in 2019 and rolling through 2022, there's 4 years. 53,000, 79,000, 227,000. That included some grant money, and then 130,000. Their cash in 2021 was 804,000, and in 2022, 655,000. Their cash. So they had cash to do this work if they wanted to do it. They weren't impaired because of a cash problem. They weren't impaired because of a net income problem. And you go through the years, starting in 2019, and there's 4 years, and you add up the depreciation, which, as we know, is not cash out the door. It's a paper write-up. You add up the cash and the net income, and in those years, they increased by $612,000. I'm looking for impairment. That's all I'm looking for. As you go around the table, you point me to how this nonprofit has been impaired. I understand the optics. I get that. I'm putting that aside. I'm just looking for how in the world can you make a case that they're impaired? Now, the current assets for 2022, December 31, 2022, cash in the bank, $804,000. They have funds that are restricted. We don't know how they're restricted. Restricted funds may be able to pay for what they're talking about, but it represents financial strength, right? Nearly $1.8 million, $1,775,000. You add that to the cash in the bank, and you get current assets of $2,580,000. That's either impaired or it's not. You can't get a clearer case. They are not impaired. You just can't get it.
You know, something to be said about health impacts. It's a church. People weren't able to, you know, exercise their faith. I mean, it was a huge struggle. I mean, not everything is about metrics. I support this, and I'm giving it a passing score.
Jackie?
I also gave it a passing score based upon what they're going to use it for, and also I think that some of the money in their banks is endowments. The people who left the endowments, it can only go for whatever they said, you know. It needs to go for, so they probably can't use that money. I give it a high score.
Yeah, and aside from the financial statements themselves, I think, I attended it for a year, being virtually, and I saw FAQs and, so, they were certainly impacted in a lot of different ways. So I gave it and I think it's a worthy cause. I think they're, documented, and so I gave a passing score for sure.
Chris?
That's on this one. And I can't, but it might be mentioned. Balance sheet. Lack of maintenance issues that could have easily been taken care of over the years with a small component of that. Yeah. I pass, it'll be barely passed.
Jesse?
I don't necessarily have a problem with passing it per se, but. You know, I mean, is there an estimate in here besides the original 40 and then they said it went up to 75,000? So there's no documentation of the estimate. Which I think is a fair ask, but I don't know how much a door like that costs. I was actually there because my sister's daughter was baptized there. I'm not a parishioner, so I don't have any, I don't have any dogs in the game, but there's another part of this where they're asking for an additional $10,000. Did we?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's similar to the coalition. They repeated the $75,000 ask in the program, but they're also asking for an additional $10,000 to fill their food pantry. Church of the Resurrection Social Action Committee humbly requests $10,000, which we feel will be an adequate amount to sustain the expanded need in our community. Funds will be used to supplement the donations of food and toiletries provided by parishioners. So I don't know if 10 grand is rolled into the 75 or if they're asking for 85,000. I don't know.
If you're 75,000 for both.
Right. So again,
I think it was just a repeat of the same.
Yeah, so similar to coalition where the only reason why this one doesn't look different is because it goes down, but the other, in this case, they went from 19.6, 19.6, and this one. So there's two parts here. They're asking for 10,000 for a program. I don't, frankly, I would pass it only because I would pass it, but I'm on the fence, honestly. I really am on the fence. I wish there was at least an estimate for what the door costs, because it's $75,000. It's a lot of money. It's nearly doubled. I don't doubt. I know that they've signed off on this is accurate. I know they have to provide all that stuff to the attorney. It's just, that's why I'm on the fence. I don't have financials to look at what the cost of this stuff is. Their financial business, when we saw with other churches, there's all kinds of money wrapped up in all kinds of things. And it's above my pay grade to understand a lot of that. But to me, the linchpin is the fact that they're asking for 10,000 that's not documented anywhere else in here. Plus the 75,000 is a steep increase over the $40,000 quote in 2020. So I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, and likewise, I was aware of the food pantry ask in here, but looking at their funding requests, they're asking for $10,000, 75. So, the food pantry piece seems to be part of that 75 because it's not separated out. Yeah, like Jesse said, it would be nice to have the some documentation. Yeah, I don't doubt that they had increased attendance and, lack of the inability to do the carnival, impacted their cash flow for that. So yeah, I mean, kind of read the questions and see how it applies.
I'm gross.
I'm on the fence with this one also. Decreased attendance doesn't mean decreased sales, essentially. It's a business. Everything's a business. There's money and so forth. And they did not get harmed financially from it, but it's a close for me. They didn't have the carnival, but they did get PPP money. And they got approximately 46,000 PPP money. based on what their numbers here at the carnival, and so what's more than what they would grade from the carnival. So it's, you know, it's,
So second time around, if you look at the P and L for 2019-2020, line 1 indicates a negative 60,000. So, well, it's 40 and then carried it down. See right here is the negative 60,000. But that's the financial impact. You here?
I make sure I get the right thing. No, I have.
Jim.
Yeah, right here.
So, you know, that sort of works with the, you know, we would have spent 40 during that period of time. I mean, I agree, no backup, but God, I mean, coalition got $50,000 tonight on 2 boxes with absolutely no backup at all.
No, they
Well,
still- no,
we
they
didn't, they didn't get it yet.
I understand, but it was approved until,
Yeah.
yeah, for recommendation, same
No,
standard.
they did not.
They didn't pass.
Oh, they
It
just
was
missed it.
60 something.
Yeah,
They missed like.
Okay, well, I mean, certainly you got support on the table. I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers. I ignore the $10,000 situation. I think, you know, they represent the 40 to 75 for the doors. I think that's, I'd like to have more backup, but that one gives me a number.
so second bite here, they had quotes for the door. They had 2 quotes for the door they didn't provide. Them. That's in their application. They got a first quote and then inflation, the second quote. But they didn't provide, so the numbers were there, we just didn't get it. As far as, you know, deferring maintenance, they had in their budget. Money, I'm sorry, they had in their expenses, money for repairs and maintenance. They did repairs, they did maintenance. In calendar year 2020, it was 22,000, and in calendar year 2019, it was 27,000. So they were repairing as needed, just that the door didn't pop up as something that they, and in 2022, they had 18,000 in repairs and maintenance. The door just didn't pop up as something that they really needed to do. They certainly had the money to do it. Now, I understand the argument about they couldn't hold a fair, you know, a fair and see some revenue drop. If only that were the criteria. If only that were the criteria, but of course it's not. I'm done. I've scored it. Anybody else? Sign it in, pass it in.
Yeah, I know we're debating all this, but.
So this is
This should just go back.
I mean, the question is, and this is for Craig. Is the council still doing, these are all gonna be standard deviated anyway, correct? Well,
And then the ones that don't make it under the standard deviation, they're gonna move the goalposts again.
so I'm just saying for our own, you know,
Yeah.
we're doing our job, but it's just
But are
frustrating.
we ignoring the program request? Are we doing the
Yeah.
10,000? Are we?
No,
I did the financial, just on the 75.
Yeah, it seems to be that in there. Because they're not showing us what the second door cost.
No. I'm saying
Good.
$10,000 request for the food.
I ignored it.
It seems to be, I think it had been with the 75,000, because the door might have gone from 45 to 65 and then 10,000 for the food.
No, it
So to
says,
say specifically, it went from 40 to 75.
yeah,
That's fine.
I'm not sure they really asked for it.
Their bottom line dollar amount, you know, fill in the box was 75,000.
Yeah. So
I think it's, if you got extra money hanging around.
Yeah.
Right, everybody's. Guessing you remember this too?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just, I only got something to touch on. Can I go? You should ask permission.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna get read anyway. Come on up.
So the next one up when we're ready is Pink Ladies and a Flower.
Okay, so Church of the Resurrection. Chris Regan, 75. Bob Grove, 75. Isabel, 70. Carbo Rico, 85. Roderick, 90. Jackie, 90. Mike Rudinsky, 45. Amy Walsh, 68. Fishbein, 90.
$76.44.
74.
So based upon the average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the amount of $75,000
Second that motion.
in the matter of Church of the Resurrection.
Second.
Around the table, Mike, yes?
Yes.
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 Yes, yes.
6. Here.
No,
Pink ladies, are we ready waiting or no, not yet? The envelope, just mark it. in the envelope. That's all. right.
Talk about it anymore.
That meeting.
Yes, Rob.
So the big lady catered to people with cancer. And for the most part, in any of the needs that they need, they run a very lean operation. They really distribute almost all the funds that they get. They were significantly impacted through the fundraising efforts for almost 2 years. They did start chili cook-off, motorcycle runs, things of that nature. I didn't see in the financials, they gave very, simple financials. The $18,000 loss wasn't really reflected. There seemed to be some discontinuity between the 18,000 and the numbers that I saw that were reported, but they did take certainly a significant hit in the fundraising efforts. I mean, they're looking for $36,000 to replace $18,000 for each of the 2 years. I can't think of a more worthy cause. There's lots of worthy causes with that we reviewed tonight. They're all worthy. But certainly this is one I think that will probably touch all of our hearts. They do good work. They run very lean. So I support that very strong request.
Chris,
I put down as a program.
program, okay. Yeah,
And I hope nobody ever needs that.
it's the disease of old age. Chris,
So, I agree with Rob. Nothing else to add.
I can't hear you.
I agree with Rob.
Okay.
I have nothing else to add on my side.
I don't have anything else to add. I just had a question about the 2-year thing. They're asking for 1 year, 2 year. I mean, that make a difference? I mean, isn't this supposed to be implemented in a year or does this? Okay, then, yeah, no, I have no problem.
Yeah, I was confused about, they kind of were like, we'd like 18, but if you got 36, we'll do 36 too, so. I guess we should be clear about what how much we're appropriated for, but I mean, we and, they pass through the money they raise, so.
Yeah, I mean, on the finances and so forth, the worthiness of the group is, they're just gonna pass this money on to people. Some people are in need, some people, not need, because they say they don't qualify anybody. They'll just give the money away. But this is the kind of group that the town should be supporting, so I'm gonna pass it.
So the financials don't in any way, shape or form meet the requirement. They aren't tax returns, they aren't P&L. And if they are a pass through, then how? I mean, it's not a project, it's not, I understand, the good work of the entity. But it isn't like they're it's an ongoing activity that it isn't an expansion, so it's not like, they're gonna give money to kids, right? Which is not something they do now. So, kids at the children's hospital, that would be a program. But this is give us money so we can continue to do the stuff that we are already doing, which is giving money to individuals, so. What's the tangible? And how do we protect that money?
I mean, this is like a very simple organization. If they take in 5,000, they give it all away. If they take in 100,000, they give it all away.
I understand.
So, yeah, so I think they're not a highly structured organization like somebody of the 501c3s. I almost feel like we're giving this to the community, not to an organization.
Well, and that's why I'm sort of thinking, I mean, because we're the town is the gatekeeper to the ultimate recipient of the money.
Yeah.
If this is just a pass through, then why are they involved at all? I mean,
They collect.
How would the town? Yeah.
Let's let this interview.
well, the town could create
Take a shot at it and we'll
the
go
grant.
from
I mean, this is a grant program for things. So, I mean, the town could say, we've got this money that's available to individuals that are suffering from cancer. And, you know, make
More
sure.
than $1 million for the town to hire somebody to administrate through government. These people do it for nothing.
Correct, and what's the difference of us doing tonight with the bereavement group, the senior center?
Hold on, we got, don't.
Well, because
So-
that's actually, we can like actually like go to the bereavement group. We could see it. We could, you know, but
You don't want to think about the fury of this group.
But let's do that
sense.
too.
Yeah.
Let's do that in addition
You
to.
could do this if you develop cancer, you don't.
so this is a program application. It's not a hardship, right?
Right.
So the health impacts, so this is, and it's cancer, right? So it's not COVID. Do they only give to Wallingford?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's a pass through, got it.
It's not totally a pass through, but some of it is, which means it's ineligible for ARPA money. Based on what they're saying, and the year 2021, it's unclear whether Grant-A-Wish iPads are giving money to Grant-A-Wish Masonic Quality of Life Fund $1,000. They can't do that and be ARPA eligible. I don't know what cancer request is, but I'm on the 2021, but there's 14,000 in cancer requests. They may be individuals that they're giving money to there. And other years, it's a similar Masonic Charity Foundation, $1,500. One charity can't give it to another charity and have it be ARPA money. They have cancer requests there of $6,000. That might be direct support for patients with cancer. I mean, so this is what they do. It's one thing if we said we give them a certain amount of money conditioned on that amount being distributed directly to patients that have cancer and suffered from the pandemic. Hold on one sec. In the tracker, when you look at the pink ladies, this was qualified as ARPA eligible on the assumption that the beneficiaries of the money had cancer and were impacted by COVID. That's the rationale, and that's got to be the rationale because that's ARPA and that's our local criteria. Giving money to a charity who will give it to beneficiaries that were not impacted by COVID is not eligible. But I mean, it can be a condition of approval, give them all the money you want. It's got to go to cancer patients that were impacted by COVID. And you don't get the overhead and, you know, the sort of the soft costs in managing this nonprofit. I see you squirming, but hold on, we'll go around.
Okay, sure.
We'll keep the powder dry for just a person as to. All right, Jack.
I think it's a great organization. I totally agree with, generally in terms of your comments about, it all goes to the benefactors, it's a strong support for me.
Program?
Yeah. Rob,
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment about your comment about whether the recipients were impacted by COVID. The requirements are that the organization is impacted by COVID. There's been a lot of other monies that we've given organizations that go to fixing doors or.
this is a program proposal, not an assistance. Are you doing an assistance?
But even like the Boy and Girls Club that we gave money to, I don't think, how do we know that every one of those recipients that they're gonna serve were impacted by COVID? We don't know. We're just assuming collectively. So somebody may have cancer because they went through stress of COVID. We don't know that. So I think that's a little bit of a harsh judgment, but that's everybody's. You know, that's my take, that they were definitely impacted financially by COVID, and that's good enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah. Jesse,
Chris, Jesse, Amy,
Jesse's gonna-
and Jeff.
Well, to Rob's point, and to yours though, I mean, if we put this through as assistance, because the organization couldn't raise money during COVID and refilled their coffers so that they could do their work, then I think it would be a program. But I think if it's for a program that goes to people with cancer, well, it's completely noble and all the good stuff. I do think that there is a distinction there. I mean, the distinction with the Boys and Girls Club though is like they're couching it in COVID creates an economic condition, parents are out of work. Kids have to go somewhere, they gotta find jobs, they gotta get job training, so that's what that's for, which I still understand your point, but I'm saying like, so that's the angle I would see. I would say, if this group says we couldn't raise money, we normally give out about $18,000 a year, we couldn't do it, that's what we wanna do. Then if it's assistance, then it is caused by COVID, then it does apply. If it's a program, though, I agree with you, we would have to make a contingent on it being people affected by COVID in order for it to be valid.
That was the assumption of UHY. It's right on the tracker. You can look it up. That's how it's supposed to work.
Right, Jesse's right on the program, because program is supposed to be somewhat effective. There's like 50 different criteria you can have to be affected by COVID. But just going back to their awards, so if you want to get, to me, based on what they said here, all funds of the award will be used to aid local individuals undergoing cancer treatment. So it's not that they were going to give it to Masonic or anything like that. They said this is all going towards local individuals that are suffering from cancer or their. The only thing I didn't like about it was it said that they would provide airfare and well, but I guess it's helping the person here. It's going to see a loved one. So yeah, for that reason, I would score positive. It's not a great score, but it's passing as either way for me. I mean, this is.
So how do we get past the fact that they haven't complied with the financial aspect? I think, well, I mean, they haven't supplied tax returns or P&L. I'm not looking to, sandbag or anything,
Can I
but
address that?
sure. Go ahead.
What they supplied is a crude P&L. So there's a rough amateurish, they made an attempt to lay out the revenues, and they made an attempt to lay out the expenses. You do a little math and you can figure it out.
But we have sent back applications that were not.
No, correct, but on a 501c3, which they are, the qualifications are, as long as it's something, it's
Yeah.
on the business aspect, if you're
That's
talking a
cool.
business application.
But a 501c3 has a 9.9.
No, it doesn't. No,
Not necessarily.
$50,000 doesn't have to.
Doesn't have
to have.
Hold on, wait, stop. They would at least have a 990N.
Yes,
We can all nod our head and say yes.
yes, they could,
So-
not all, but they could.
They're supposed to file a 990N.
They
Anything less than $50,000 was to file a 990N.
Not all.
Hold on.
Not all secrets, but this one should.
Hold on. The council said, however, they don't have to file the 990. They don't have to give us the 990, even though they filed it.
Agreed.
Yeah,
And
okay.
the alternative, it would
It'd be
be
a P&L.
a P&L that has a CPA, that's
No, not a secret.
Not a C, no,
just I thought
No,
CPA is required.
No.
Not for the nonprofit.
we can, not for the
Not
nonprofit.
C3s that are below $500,000.
They can hand us a piece of toilet paper.
Oh, that
with
was that.
A little
redo.
revenue, a little expense,
So
and
that's why this qualifies, and they're giving you more, because they could give you an N 990N. When in their case would say nothing, they would just sign it and mail it in, that's all an N.
let's wrap
The
this up.
990
Sort of
Well,
beat a dead horse.
So they do have operating expenses. So, you know, I saw on their P and L, if you want to call it that, insurance.
Yeah.
You know, but we have the representation, so they are representing their application that all of this money is going to go to individuals.
We could make that a condition of approval, and frankly, no one should have an objection.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would have no
I mean,
problem with that.
Make a motion.
Why, I mean, we do that, I guess we do that after the number, but yeah, I would score accordingly with that understanding.
Run as a program?
Well, go ahead, Jesse.
Oh, no, are we scoring as a program?
I think we're scoring it as a program,
Okay.
but let me address something that Greg said.
Get it passed. Whatever people feel comfortable.
Well,
I don't want to get a little.
I mean,
It's easier to do program because I don't like the number.
Program, let's just program.
it would affect my score considerably if there's a condition of approval that every dollar goes to a patient, a cancer patient that's been impacted by COVID,
So moved.
you know? Then I'll second that, but you already filled that score. So we'll just call a vote on that. Do you or do you not want a condition of approval?
If a program.
Yeah. That the dollars
Thank you.
must go to patients with cancer that have been impacted by COVID.
Brett seconded it.
Greg second. Go around the table.
That's what they do.
Yeah, so that's what
I don't
necessarily.
I mean, I think
necessarily.
I don't know if I can agree with
How
that.
do you know if a person comes down with cancer? How do you know that they gotta put a requirement, how are they gonna prove that that's from COVID? No,
That's,
not-
they've got to figure that out with
You
record.
said-
Cancer.
No, he said cancer and COVID.
So you said cancer caused by COVID.
No, not.
Okay,
by-
okay, I'm
No,
sorry, I
no,
misinterpreted you then, my
no,
fault.
no. Someone is a cancer patient and independently and coincidentally, they've had an adverse impact from COVID. So combine you got to combine the.
So
It's not a causal.
State it again.
Wait.
So I would be more comfortable.
I can't,
if it
and
was
neither,
just cancer.
hold on, the tape and Cheryl Ann can't figure this out, and nor can I. Chris,
That fundamentally, there's a change in that motion of what you just said, so restate that, please.
yeah, the condition of approval be that funds will only go to cancer patients who have had an adverse impact, health impact from COVID, not a causal, parenthesis, not a causal connection.
What does that mean?
But it's so subjective.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Vote it down. I mean, we'll just.
No, can you just make the motion then to just?
I did.
So I'm
Because
gonna,
that is, I so moved
That is-
that. Cheryl,
I'm
did you
gonna,
hear the
I'm,
motion?
I'm gonna move to amend the motion to remove the COVID aspect, that it goes to individuals that have cancer.
Second.
Yes,
Second.
second, yes,
Okay,
I'm fine.
so
with
that's
that.
a condition of approval.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll go around the table. Mike, yes?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody's in? Okay. You ready to score? Oh, you already scored.
West preferred is the challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
twenty-three.
Pink ladies.
I'm not minded,
Oh, sorry.
but I did call it's coming.
I gave you two.
count. So when divided, it'll fail.
All right,
No, it would be over the top.
okay. Mike Brinsky, 70. Chris Regan, 90. Jackie, 100. Carl, 95. Who is this?
Hundred.
I'm sorry, we just sort of,
Yeah,
all right. Ready? Rob Fritz, 100. Mike Brinsky, 70. Chris Regan, 90. Jackie, 100. Carl, 95. Got two from Jackie. That's what makes me-
Oh, sorry.
That's right, it's the same.
That's like a nine.
Fishbein, 82. Amy Walsh, 83. Mr. Reynolds, 75. Bob Rose, 80. Yeah, you didn't count.
I didn't know.
86.11.
So based upon that average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the matter of the Pink Ladies Sisters for Hope Foundation, Inc. in the amount of $36,000.
Second.
Around the table, Mike, yes?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes. Can I just, are we anticipating $36,000 going to the community in 1 year or say 2 years, or we don't care?
Leave it up to law department. So. Live.
one left.
No, you're not gonna do it.
Oh,
no,
So,
it said we have one left, don't we?
yeah, we have one left. Operation Fuel, right? When Amy's got the
yeah,
envelope.
I'm good.
This one was assigned to Mike.
So, Operation Fuel, I've taken on, they provide fuel to low income homes. They have a Wallingford operation. They're only looking for $10,000. So that sort of says it's a Wallingford, it's a limited operation. Operation Fuel is a big organization, but they were in the papers lately because they ran out of money and they suspended their activities, not permanently, I didn't think, but temporarily they suspended. So an asterisk can be on if this passes, an asterisk can be on the report, double check their status or something like that, just to make sure that they haven't gone bust permanently. But I think that's it. There isn't much to say. I mean, I'll give them a very high score. We kind of know, they've been around, we know who they are, it's $10,000. So that's all I really have to say.
There's a second part to it again.
I didn't hear
There's
you. You checking that out?
There's a program in here
Yeah.
that is also asking for budget justification, energy assistance at 50 households times $500, 25,000. Program staffed application to 15% is 750. Total is 32,000. See the previous other state. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, it's coming off. My apologies.
Okay, Carl.
Support everything you said.
I agree.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree.
This is a program.
Program, yeah, they got a lot of things.
Yeah.
I agree. To your point, Mike, they're supposed to start back up in April.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they're supposed to. It was just a sluggish of funding.
Put the asterisk on it. Craig, did you,
I'm good.
okay, everything is.
You have a program?
Oh.
That was the last one I took from here. These are all. Sure.
Really? That's the last one.
Of what?
A program blank.
The program,
Yeah.
take them all. I don't need them anymore.
You want to frame one? You want to frame one?
We should all sign one though.
Yeah.
We can give it to the council. Yeah. There's more coming, right? Well, good. Do you want to second one back?
Do I want what?
Second one back.
I did two again. Oh.
Oh, Bob.
You're taking a valuable brain space.
Okay, we got
Like very happy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Operation Fuel, Bradford 100. Jackie, 100. Carl, 100. Chris Regan, 100. Amy Walsh, 100. Mike Brzezinski, 89. Brian, 80. Rose, 90. Jeff Lee, 100.
so based on it,
95.4.
based on the average score, I make a motion that we recommend further favorable action in the matter of Operation Fuel Inc. in the amount of $10,000.
Second.
Round the table, Mike, yes.
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 Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're gonna leave.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but-
You went around,
Yes.
okay. So we got to figure out what we're doing hereafter, if anything. Um, The sentiment at the last meeting is that we would wrap it, wasn't a vote, but the sentiment at the last meeting, we would wrap it up tonight. At that meeting, so let's wait until the 29th before we decide what to do on the remaining applications, which are all business applications, because we took care of the nonprofit applications at the last meeting. So that's where it stood. Any thoughts? Who wants to take the first swing, and then we'll just go around the table and
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if the council's gonna continue to do, right, maybe fill us in, if they're gonna do the standard deviation. As we're sitting here at the table tonight, no comment was made when the one group that failed, but they're gonna go before the council and look at the standard deviation, they're gonna pass. I mean, what are we doing?
So
That's my question. What are we doing here?
So I just want to get to the bottom line,
Yeah.
rather than re-debate everything that we
No,
debated.
that's what I'm saying. What are we doing?
So your preference is what?
Either we pause what we do and we just back down for a while and see what if the council gives us any better direction. If not, if they keep the same direction, I'm done.
Well, you don't want to decide tonight.
I'll be fine tonight.
That's what I look.
If the group wants to close it up, I have no problem.
So are you a close it up or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, my concern has, come through many meetings. The council has not even dealt with the applications that have been rejected at this point. As I shared Mike today, I got an email from all the council, got an email from the Hungarian with, well, this is our revised application. And now it looks like the Church of the Res application, where they're saying that they would have spent the money, they had the money, but the COVID, it's almost exactly the same application. So, the concern is that the standard deviation is even not, it's not an ARPA, it's a fiction thing that was created and it's not bound by anything. I mean, that can change again.
What do you think?
I'm certainly willing to do the hard work that we have been doing, but I think at the point that we're at, I don't think it makes too much sense. So
Are you?
I'm in the Bob camp.
Thank you. Okay. That's kind of what I wanted to know.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, Jackie.
I'm not in agreement. When I commit to do something, I say I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna follow through and do what I need to do. And you're told to, pass them, not pass them, and then whatever the town council does, that's on them. I feel I did, my due diligence and go from there. So I would say.
I agree with what Jack said in general. When you make a decision, you commit to something, you do that, understanding what the rules are at the time you make that decision. If in the middle of the street, the rules change, I think you have the right to then reconsider. Had the council passed that vote the other night, 2 positive votes, or it wouldn't have passed. I would absolutely consider wanting to continue to do the work we're doing. When the vote's 6-2, careful what you wish for. So you have especially when they also asked for all of the applications that weren't even passed to our committee by the consultants. So they want all the paper. So to Bob's point, they want the consultants to review it. They want to review everything. I don't work for the government. I don't need 3 groups to look at the same piece of paper to determine whether it's acceptable or not. Private sector, 1 group is usually good enough. Now we have at least 2, the consultants and the council. I think we're redundant. Our work is superfluous. And as the rest of you, I have many, many, many more important things to do with my time than sit here and be redundant. So for that matter, I vote that we don't continue at all. We just.
Chris,
So I vote to continue.
You vote.
I vote to continue. The rationale that I have is the businesses who have asked for the money and we have the ability to approve, I think is something that we owe to them and to the town at this point. Nowhere, shape, or form has an application even been discussed where we approve it and the council wants to say, oh, no, we're not giving it to that business. I mean, that's not a potential outcome that'll ever happen. If we throw this back to the council and disband this merry band of misfits, lovingly, we are telling those businesses, government's not working, the committees that we're putting forward are not working, and there is no way you're going to get your money that you so desperately need in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months worth of meetings, unless there is, some major shift in how these things are going to be evaluated by the council. So even if it's a single application after going through 20 and we approve it, that company, that business deserve the money and should get it in the fastest route as possible.
Jesse?
I don't know.
No, you gotta know.
Well, okay, so truth. Last night I was sitting at Xavier High School in my car with my laptop reviewing these applications, and it came across my mind at least 5 times. Why am I doing this? Why am I bothering to do this? Does this even matter? Does anything I do matter? And so to that end, I don't feel like doing this anymore. However, that being said, what I said last week is similar to what Chris just said, is that if we don't do anything, nothing will happen. I mean, well.
Bob, hold on. Keep your.
No, I just made it, I made facial expressions.
If we don't do anything, nothing will happen in the sense that at least the ones that we approve, they will not go forward. And so, because the council is not going to be able to review those things, they're not going to do it. I mean, I'm not saying they're not capable of it, but Craig, realistically.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, so I feel like, to Chris's point, if we don't do something, then all of those businesses that have been waiting for our response, at least in the affirmative, won't have anything happen. And to me, that's kind of a shame. Is it our fault? No. But that's sort of what motivates me. So I'm not, I can't be a yes or a no. I mean, if the group doesn't want to do it anymore, I'm not going to come do it by myself. I'm not a super majority of 7 unto myself, or if me, Jackie and Chris come and sit, hang out in Hubcap because it's such a nice place to hang out and do it. Our
No,
3 won't even count.
no fair, you can't abstain.
I would rather continue at this point.
That's what.
So, a couple things. The council has always had an issue with what to do with things that we vote for no action on. It's always been a question. They never solved it. They kind of set us up and said, go do stuff, and never thought about what was gonna happen that month. I'm also thinking that we're meeting again, talking about this, and nothing's changed at the council level since last week. Like we're having more meetings. We're thinking about this more than the council is. So nothing's changed this week from last week, other than we've had more time to think about it. There hasn't been any additional action at the council level. For that reason, I'm reluctant to stop now, because I feel there's no, I mean, yes, we reviewed applications again this week and we did more work. Kind of still with the backdrop of limbo at the council level. There was nothing different this week from last week. I'm leaning towards keeping up with this, because yes, in the affirmative, it gets those businesses more their money faster. And if we stop now, I feel bad for the half of the companies that we did review have an answer, and the other half are in like limbo for who knows how long. At least if we continue with our work, at least we feel like we did our part, and I have no guilty conscience for I didn't do a good job for all the businesses that applied.
Okay, so the next issue is we have a,
Can we just go around again on?
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah,
you know, my concern with the standard deviation thing is it was a puzzle piece that was employed upon a procedure without looking at the substance. When you go into the SureLink system, you'll see that those individuals that have taken swipes at this group haven't looked at any applications. So they took the numbers and found the raw score to be inappropriate and said, we're going to shift all that stuff. You know, I would have no problem with the appeal process or the review process involved. Okay, they rejected this. We're going to take the backup. We're going to look at it. We're going to fit it to the rubric, and we're going to say, you know, we're going to advocate for it. Remembering that this body is constrained by 7 votes. That body is not. So out of the gate, they said every action has to be by supermajority. So that is of concern, because I think what you'll have happen is, now that there was an outcry about what they've already done, is they'll wait for us to finish everything. They'll look at who got rejected, and they're going to shift the goalpost again. I foresee it. That's what will happen down the road. The fact, you know, if we don't do anything, nothing will happen and get money faster. Nobody's got money now. No one. So when you say, you know, that will get them the money faster, the law department told us at the last meeting that we talked about, it's going to be months before they can go through. In fact, it's in the article in the newspaper that it's going to take a long time for them to put these contracts together. You know, there's still problems with applications after they're getting them. So it isn't like, you know, we're recommending. There was no recommendations on last night's council meeting. None. So we've already made recommendations since that last time, right? They didn't act on any of them. So I don't think there's a lot of there. I'm not advocating. I'm just throwing it out there because I wear both hats. It lands in my lap either way, you know, so.
did you want to add something?
Yeah,
I need another second bite.
Yeah, the standard deviation, just to add one more thing, when the standard deviation has been applied to some of those applicants that they now have passed, those applicants are not ARPA. They don't pass ARPA. So they don't pass the federal guidelines on some of them. You can name them if you want. And the issue is they're blindly just passing. So they're not even as Craig said, they're not looking. The council for my here, they can go in there and they could just say, because they approved enough money, they can say, we're going to pass everybody. And that's what I heard they might do. And so what's the point of us sitting here if they're just gonna, and I'm getting some nods around the table, because the microphone can't pick up the nods, but this is what we're hearing, that they're gonna go in, they have they only need the 5 votes. And there are 5 votes, and Craig, you could, I mean, there's 5 votes there for that. And so I would put us on pause if you want and see what the council does. And not do anything for 2 weeks and see if the council does anything, Craig, so I know, but I'm just saying, I don't know what we're doing, because there's gonna be so much pressure put on from, once they pass one of these, and they've already done it, they've said they passed 11. Do we know who those 11 are?
Well, it should have been on last night's agenda.
But they want the 11 that they said by standard deviation. Once other companies find out that these have been passed, and then they find out that there is 73 where they should have been 75 or 69 versus 70, whatever it is, they're gonna be making it. And what do you think the council's gonna do? They're gonna give them the 5 votes. And to Jackie's point, I called the person who appointed me and I told her I'm not a quitter and I volunteer for a lot of things and I follow things through. But I said to her, what's the point here? What is the point?
So I'm just going around the table, I can sort of count the votes. So the option, an option is,
What's your feedback?
well,
You didn't provide your feedback.
my feedback, you know, the council can solve this very quickly if it has the will. They could hold one special meeting and do them all. But one, or I could hold 2 special meetings to do them. And by the time they get around to the special meeting, let's say if they had the will, they could knock it off in mid-April. Doesn't set anybody back 1 minute. Because as the backup in the law department and the comptroller's office, so there is no delay involved. If the council wants to do it, but they could wring their hands. And they could say, well, what are we gonna do? Maybe we'll appoint another committee, I mean, they could just dilly-dally. If there's a sense of urgency, it's over if they do it in mid-April. They can find some time. I mean, they spend way too much on this budget workshop, you know, picking through stuff. Take one of those nights or another night, and by the end of April or middle of April, it's all done. So, you know, that's not the problem that I see. We know we come here and we reject something because 1 or 2 score it low. We know that's going to be dragged across the pass line by the standard deviation formula. I mean, that's just going to happen. So, you know, it's an exercise in futility. But okay, I mean, I appreciate Jackie's argument and everyone's argument. Exercises in futility are sometimes a hole you dig yourself into. It's just the way it is. You know, you volunteer for something and it doesn't turn out the way it should or the way you want, you're kind of stuck. It's the, well, we're kind of stuck argument that I'm hearing kind of. That's okay. I mean, I can stick it out. I mean, I was counting up the numbers. Can we do it all in one night? If we start at 6 o'clock, we may be able to do 20, 22 in one night. I don't know. It would have to be a different kind of a meeting. Score it all at home, you know.
You're just looking for profits then.
We've already disposed of it.
That's what I'm saying. You're not, there's 22
Yeah,
left, is
yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Well,
7,
no,
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Some were added today.
First count I had 24, 24 or 25.
Some were added today. Did you see that?
I'm not aware.
There were
Some was
3 rejected non-for-profits put in another category. The Elks Club was one of them that was rejected. What were the other 2?
I read it.
Yeah.
I
I think it was clarifying the rejection. I don't
I got a feeling that they still have applications that,
They're going back and forth.
So,
on it.
yeah.
so-
I want to get back to the point though.
Okay.
Assuming arguendo.
so let's vote. Let's vote.
Yeah.
We kind of know where this is going, and then let's pick up after what our next step should be, because I think
Yeah,
everybody's got.
I mean, I'm just laying out alternatives so we,
Can I
Being-
offer, so
Yeah.
the way I see it is we keep on going, we stop, or we pause. I think pausing buys us, do we think that pausing would buy us any time to
no,
see the
I,
dust settle?
no, it doesn't have a chance.
You have no longer any more speakers left.
We're in or we're out.
Right.
You have no leverage. costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have no, that option should be removed.
And it doesn't say to them, you're gonna do something.
That's exactly right. You pause, that's a non-starter.
Yeah.
They've already approved all the money when they increased the funding based on the applications that were submitted. They've already made a decision, and that's exactly what's gonna happen. If they want it, they're gonna do it anyways. So we're gonna come down here for another 3 or 4 meetings, waste our time. They're gonna do it anyways. I mean, that's, we should vote at this point.
You know, there's an aspect to this that has made this more difficult, though. It's also the consultant. Because, we should not have to spend our time checking off the boxes that our taxpayer dollars are paying. Well, ARPA dollars are actually paying.
$90,000 to date so far.
It's gotta be more than that, because November was 70.
Yeah.
It's gotta be more than that. So that has made it more difficult too.
It made it more difficult because the council said, well, if they passed it to get to us, then it's okay. But I can name applications that do not pass ARPA.
So,
I know.
let's bring it to a head here. So I'll make a motion that we take no further action on any applications from here on out. See if we have
Second.
6.
We should take no further action on any applications. You're on it.
Doesn't mean we totally disband them.
Doesn't mean what?
Doesn't mean we totally disband it. All that means is we're done right now, but we can always come back if you say, if you're gonna disband.
I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
I don't-
Disband means this, not moving forward, it means we all say goodnight.
We'll see.
That's
Okay.
right.
Not like we live together. I mean, it's just,
I'd love to have a beer, we'll have a
All right,
beer.
so,
Take a vote.
so we're taking a vote. So Mike is a yes on that.
Yes.
Carl is a yes.
No,
Rob is a yes.
Chris is a no.
I'm a no.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
pass it.
temporary pass for Amy.
I'm a yes.
You're a yes. Craig,
not fair.
I know. Let her,
So come back, I'm thinking.
No, because now you're counting
No,
numbers.
no, actually, I'm not.
Craig,
Isn't
Craig,
that
what's
close? I'm not.
Yeah.
we'll honor that. We'll honor that. Pause.
Well, since I wear both hats, I guess I vote yes.
Amy. 1, 2, 3.
Don't leader.
See, you dug yourself in the hole, Amy, because you're the deciding vote.
No.
1, 2, 3,
Better you than me.
5. We need 6 out of 9.
Thank you.
So they will read.
Amy Wall, torpedoes, ARPA.
Hope the record journalists listen to that.
So,
They will next week.
yes.
So that carries. That carries. So what will happen now is not much. We'll wrap up the minutes. Get them posted up. I'll send a report in and I'll just gonna give the vote total. I'm just gonna give, these were approved. These were not approved, and there's an asterisk here or there or something like that, and that'll be that. So this is the final meeting.
This isn't Zoom, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
It's not live,
Oh, so that's, okay,
but
so,
we haven't adjourned. It's just a matter of-
no, what I'm saying is for somebody outside this room could be hearing this now.
No, it's not live.
Okay,
It's
that's
only
what
for
I'm asking,
recording.
so nobody knows, so you really
It's for
pass that
recording.
memo tomorrow.
The audio on the town website. Yeah. Any other business we want to bring up? Any other questions? Any other anything that? Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
You know, if they turn on-